Boo. Thank you. Hi, everyone.
Hi, welcome to Scream Girls.
It's a podcast where we rate and review scary movies. Today we're recording in a room with windows, so if you hear some sirens or some thunder, please excuse us. Chalk it up to city living.
New York City.
New York.
You are Kaitlin McKenzie.
And you are Callie Goff.
We're the Scream Girls.
We are the titular Scream Girls.
Oh, I love the word titular.
Titular. You know what? Eponymous is a word that I was told to use as a synonym for titular in college. A teacher was like, you should say eponymous, not titular. And I was like, why? Eponymous sounds too bougie.
Define.
It means like title character.
Eponymous.
Pocahontas is the eponymous character of Pocahontas.
Eponymous.
Yeah.
Hippopotamus.
But like, why can't we just say titular?
Hippopotamus.
Titular has the root of title in there, so it's easy.
Yeah, and it's like sexy.
I think it was just like some bougie bullshit from my English professor. That's what I think.
I like titular because it's sexy and it's like,
yeah.
it's hitty. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it spices it up a little.
How was your weekend?
Oh, it was pretty low-key. I didn't see my mouse. Oh, I don't think I've talked about my mouse on this podcast. I dreamed of him, but I didn't see him. I have a mouse roommate.
MICKY.
I haven't named him or her because I don't want to grow attached because I'm afraid of it.
Maybe he will become your pet.
Maybe. Well, that was what my dream was about. I haven't seen him. I set up a no-kill trap for him full of peanut butter, and he hasn't checked it out yet. Well, the thing is, I've dealt with mice before, but only when I've had cats. So in those cases, the cat will catch it, but a cat won't kill a mouse right away. So usually what I do is I get the mouse away from the cat, trap it under a wastebasket or something, and take it outside. I just can't bear to see it tortured to death.
Why won't a cat kill a mouse right away?
Because they're fucking evil. Yeah, they just want to play with
boop,
them. Absolutely.
You are
they
mine.
let him go, catch him again. They let him go, catch him again. They're really nasty.
That is so fucked up.
Yeah. So I can't stand to watch a mouse die this slow death. So
that's like Lucifer in Cinderella.
Yeah, Lucifer is a good example of most cats.
Also, LOL, his name is Lucifer.
I know. Come on, lady. Lady being the evil stepmother who named
Come
him
on,
Lucifer.
lady.
But when you have a cat, you can do. But they're too fast and skittery. Without a cat, I can't catch a mouse by myself. So I'm trying this trap, but he's not going for it.
Oh no, you couldn't catch it with your bare hands.
Well, I was trying to catch him under a box. He was too fast.
No. And he'll get right out. They can squeeze through anything.
I know. Well, I plugged up the only hole I could find, so maybe he's just not going to come back.
Do you think if you got a bird, it would kill the mouse?
Depends on the bird. Maybe.
Maybe
I'm not going to get a fucking bird. I know, but I'm not home enough to get a cat, and I worry that a cat would get mad at me and pee on my couch.
You'll have all your little micey friends to play with.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
I don't know. I want an animal really bad in my life.
I know, you gotta get a puppy.
City living won't let me.
No, it's tough.
Well, I also had a low-key weekend.
No mice?
No, knock on everything imaginable because I've had them before and I hate them. No mice, just a lot of binge watching the truly most terrifying thing I've watched in a really long time, The Handmaid's Tale. I know I'm late to the game, and now all my friends have been watching it. It is so dark.
Yeah, dude. How many episodes did you watch?
Oh, God. Too many to admit on the podcast.
I mean, 6. You're not supposed to binge that one.
Really?
It's not meant for binging because it's too dark and scary. You need to recharge.
The thing is, I really wanted to know what was going to happen.
I know.
And it really sucked me in, but it's just really dark because it's not that unrealistic.
No, it sure ain't. Yeah, it really is. I watched the first season, and I want to watch the rest because I have read the book, and I really like the aspect of it where it's a continuation, and there's all this bonus material basically. And I'm obsessed with Samira Wiley, but somebody told me that the first couple episodes of season 2 are basically torture porn.
Ooh.
And I can't with that.
No, I didn't like those parts.
It gave me nightmares. And, we watch the shit out of all these scary movies. I never have nightmares about the movies, but I have had nightmares about Handmaid's Tale.
Usually, I don't find that something that I'm watching is creeping into my psyche really bad. And when it starts to, I don't like it. Sometimes it happens, to be honest, with shows on Bravo. I'll watch too many of them, and then I'll be like, bitch, you better not! And then I'll be like, my mailman or whatever. And then I'll be like, uh-oh, too much Bravo.
Sorry.
Oops. I've never done that to a male person.
No.
So I just took in a lot of media into my brain, and then I felt
dark media.
like I wanted to lay in a dark room. I wanted to go into one of those sensory baths. Sensory
a deprivation.
Depletion. Yes.
Yeah. I've never done that. I think it could be fun. A week. Yeah, I need to really unplug
I'm going to Punta Cana in a few days, and I'm not even gonna lie, I'm kind of stressed about it.
Why are you stressed?
I don't know. I'm nervous that we're not gonna have fun, or that it's gonna rain, or like something's gonna happen. I don't know. I feel really nervous about my vacation.
Even if it rains, you're in an all expense paid. Girl, you're going to eat everything. You're going to drink everything.
I know. I'm nervous. I made the mistake of reading the 1-star reviews of the resort.
Don't do that?
I know.
Are there a lot?
No. It's like a 5-star hotel, and it has many more 5-star reviews than it does 1-star, but I just really made that mistake on Saturday night, and it sent me into a really bad anxiety.
Haters, as you know, are going to hate.
Yes.
And the other thing about it is...
haters, as you know.
But the other thing about that is... if you have a really good experience, you're maybe gonna write a review.
Yeah.
If you have a really bad experience, you're definitely gonna write a review.
Okay.
So think about it as everybody who's had a bad experience and knows how to use the internet wrote a 1-star review.
Okay.
So if that's representative of everybody.
I know. I kept being Simon, are we gonna have a good time? And he was like, yes, we're going to have so much fun. Stop it.
Aw, Simon.
And then I was like, bitch, you better not. And then I'm kidding. But I was, so I don't know. I'm feeling a lot of feelings. And then I was watching too much of The Handmaid's Tale, and I was like, these are real problems.
I have a question about, I don't want to get too much into it, because I do want to jump into this movie. But The Handmaid's Tale, I was thinking about that. And I know it's a feminist dystopian story. It's a very, it's about women's rights. But I do have to wonder at a certain point, can a show that so gratuitously depicts brutality against women be truly feminist?
I guess if there's some kind of comeuppance.
I guess. I don't know.
I don't know.
There's some really dark shit that
Yes.
I just don't know if I need to go there.
I feel like the freakiest part of the whole thing to me is Serena Joy, because what scares me more than men wanting to control women is a woman who feels this way and feels like women, which there are so many outspoken women.
Won Trump the election.
Exactly.
It's definitely a real thing.
But there are women that I can think of who I think would be okay with it. So I'm hoping that Serena Joy is going to be like, this isn't what I signed up for.
Well, she definitely has some doubts. I can't speak to what happens because I have only seen season 1.
Okay.
But she's definitely a much more compelling character in the show than she is in the book. She's just a huge B in the book. All right, let's talk about this fucking movie, which I enjoyed watching a lot. I hadn't seen it in years.
And now remind me, you have not seen the sequels.
And I still have not. And, I guess I'll just say this right up top. We were just chatting about this movie, and I hadn't seen the sequel, and Callie pointed out that, they happened sort of at the same time, and we thought it might be fun to do a little double feature.
So we're talking about this week, and next week we're going to talk about Paranormal Activity 2, more paranormaler. Yeah,
yes. And that's it. We're not going to go through the whole series because this isn't the Paranormal Activity podcast.
Though it could be because there's fucking 6 of them or 8
I know. We could do a full season, basically.
So I feel like that's the perfect time to segue into one of the reasons I think this movie is amazing. And it's because it started as this is what the internet told me. It was an extremely low budget indie film, essentially. The director had $10,000. He made this with $10,000.
I'm sure.
Each of the actors was paid $500.
Oh, wow.
And then they've since renegotiated because of the success of the film.
That's good.
Because it was a breakout.
Yeah, they deserve to get paid.
That created a franchise.
I thought both the actors were really good in this, actually.
Yeah, me too.
There's some moments.
So anyway, that's one of I'm all right.
Do you know how long
budget
it took to
made a fucking movie.
I was trying to figure out how long the shoot was.
I feel a couple weeks. I read something that they recorded it all at his house. That's the director's house.
Oh, you can tell. It's not that it looks cheap, but you can just tell it's one location. So much of it happens. I was thinking about all the nighttime scenes. I was like, I bet she just changed her tank top.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, it could have been filmed. I know Tom, shout out Tom Saporito, friend of the podcast. I think it took them a couple weeks to film found footage 3D. Yeah. And that was more locations.
Yeah.
So
and more sort of high-tech-y stuff.
Yeah.
Because the tech in this is pretty low. The most intense effect is either. Well, we'll get into it.
Yeah.
We won't spoil it.
So how's it start?
So it starts off, and this is a found footage movie in the style of the Blair Witch Project, we should just say, but way better than the Blair Witch Project. But we have to give Blair Witch its due, because I think that sort of kicked off this sort of subgenre. Am I correct? Was there a movie before Blair Witch?
That's a
True
great
horror
question.
buffs can tell us.
I don't know, a found footage film. But I feel like there was a long break between Blair Witch and this film, no?
Yeah. That was 90s and this was 2007.
Right. So this really reinvigorated the found footage.
Yeah.
Whatever you call it.
Really, I mean, I guess Blair Witch, you know, you could say that about Blair Witch too. I think Blair Witch is kind of boring.
Yeah.
This movie, we all know, I've said many times, ghosts don't scare me very much in movies because I don't believe in them. But this movie, the found footage lends it a grit and a realness that makes it a lot scarier, actually, than if it were some crazy effects, than if it was a Conjuring movie and there's a CGI Babadook creature.
And I think one of the things that's really scary about this movie is, you know, they hear little tippy tapping, little nicky knocking, and then sometimes it's the ice maker. So they're like, you know, I feel like that's what freaks us all out. Like when you wake up in the middle of the night and you're like, oh, I heard something, and it was like a magnet falling off your fridge.
Which happens only while I'm watching horror movies, but yes.
But then you're like, oh, just a benign magnet.
It's just my mouse.
Yeah. Oh. He was like, I like this magnet.
Can I watch this with you? Yeah, okay, so we start off, the premise of the movie is that this fucking guy, who we'll get into, his name is Mika, and he has bought a fancy camera, and he wants to start filming shit around the house that he shares with his girlfriend, Katie, because Katie has been experiencing paranormal phenomena. They've both been experiencing it, but Katie has been experiencing it on and off her whole life.
Yes.
So he's like, let's start
Which we learn through very realistic dialogue, almost mumblecore. You know, I like me some trivia. So I was reading that none of this was scripted, like a mumblecore film. They were told...
None of the whole movie was scripted?
That they were told what needed to happen in a scene, what they should be talking about, what the general points were that they needed to make. And then they sort of just talked.
That's interesting. I feel like I can tell there are a few moments where it feels like a line feels jarringly scripted, and the rest of it, there's a part where she's like, whatever it is, I just want it to stop. And I was like, whoa, that sounds canned as fuck. And the rest of it sounded so...
Like, so natural.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I wonder if that was
maybe
one
it was
of
a little
those...
mix. I don't know. Most of it wasn't scripted.
No, that's what I'm saying. Maybe that was one where he was like, you have to say that. Yeah. You have to hit this mark, you know? And she sort of just awkwardly, she worded it. So, I generally think she did a very fine job. But that's why that moment stood out all the more to me.
So it starts with Mika, whose most redeeming / only one of his only redeeming qualities is that he shares a name with the singer Mika.
But he's not as gentle.
No, or as adorable.
He's a day trader, and he owns this nice-ass house with his GF, who is an English student, Hala English majors. And so, yeah, they're going to do this. And
well, he's bought a camera. That's like the way it starts, is that he's bought a camera. And she says, when she finally rolls up and she's like, you have a giant camera on your shoulder. She goes, how much did that cost? And I was like, that is 100% my entire life with Simon.
Oh, yes. That is I was like, my mom would absolutely. Yeah. First question.
I feel like weekly. I'm like, how much did that cost? Simon gets a box of WWE goodies every month, every other month.
A lot of people like WWE.
And I'm sure they do.
Is it like the Stitch Fix?
It's very nice. WWE is lovely. It's his housewives. It's fine.
Yes.
But he gets a box of the most useless things. Unless you want to sponsor the podcast, in which case I think they're wonderful. But like a blanket and a t-shirt and a bobblehead. Like every month it's like a blanket, a t-shirt, a bobblehead, and like a weird pin. And every month I'm like, honey, what are you going to do with that? How much did that cost? Like, And
meanwhile, he thinks you have an online shopping
oh my
addiction.
God, I do.
So.
I know I have no leg to stand on, literally no leg to stand on, because at the same time I'm like carting in. I look like, speaking of Cinderella, I look like Gus when he tries to gather up all the beans or the corn, and I'm like, ooh, like carrying in a stack of boxes,
like
10 boxes high. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Simon's like, what's all that? And I'm like, oh, nothing. It's all going back. I haven't even opened it yet. And I'm like, all to be returned.
Sure, you will return a lot of it. You're going to try it on.
Yeah. I basically have like a whole system in my home.
Yeah, we don't go to the
Eventually,
store.
I'm going to figure out how to monetize
This is 2018. Who goes to stores?
Yeah, no. Eventually, I'm going to figure out how to monetize my own return system.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Simon was like, you should do this for other people because you're really good at, like, returning things.
I mean, I'll give you my things to return if you want.
Great. I mean, all I do is put them in a box.
Yeah.
Tape up the box. Give them to Simon to take to the post office.
I see. That's the secret weapon.
Anyway, so shit's already happening.
They're fine. They're hearing weird noises and lights turning on and off by themselves and things.
He's going to document it.
Yeah.
He's thinking they can catch some cool shit.
Yeah. So night one, he sets up the camera in night vision, and first he tries to convince her to make a sex tape with the camera, which she is, you know,
Ew.
She's established herself as the typical
I like her.
smart lady, and she won't do it. Now, no shade if you've ever made a sex tape. It's your business. It's your business. But I don't trust Mika to keep it safe. I don't trust him to keep it off the cloud.
Also,
and I don't trust the cloud.
He said, no, the cloud is raining down our information at all times. He said the light was off, and she was like, no, it's not.
That's later, but yeah.
Oh,
He tries to dupe her.
He tries to have a sex tape the first night.
He like brings it up, and then a few nights later, he puts it down, and they start to fool around, and she's like, it's still on. He's like, no, that's the standby light, and she's like, no, it's not. I'm like, okay, that would be enough for me to be like,
don't be.
We're breaking up. We're breaking up. Like, that's such a fucking boundary.
Yeah, no.
But like, he tries to get her to have a non-consensual sex tape.
Mika, 11 years later, time's up.
Well, time was up for Mika long ago.
Gonna fly.
Nah. This movie, actually, we'll get into it. As I always say, we'll get into it. But it was very, like, triggering for me to watch. And I actually have not ever been in a relationship that's this toxic or this boundaryless. But I just feel like I have witnessed so many interactions between women and their partners, women and the men in their lives that are just like this. I've had them to lesser and greater extents at various times in my life. And I didn't feel this way the first time. I saw this movie in college in the theater, and I did not feel this way. But watching it this time, I was just like, I mean, I was scared of the ghost, but I was just seething the whole time. It felt so real, and I don't know if the movie meant to really dig into those gender dynamics in such a real way, or if it's just that's how the person wrote it.
I wonder if it did. I mean, I would like to see what if now the director were to look back on the film, what he would say about that, because I feel like it may have been unintentional. Like, it was just depicting a relationship.
Right.
There are a lot of relationships like this where, sorry, but, like, the guy doesn't listen, or one of the partners doesn't listen, and so the other one ends up nagging them a lot.
And 5 trillion
quote,
times.
I fucking hate the word nagging, but, like, has to tell him something or ask him something 5 million times. And I've never really seen it depicted the reverse. No. Maybe
because it doesn't
dynamic exists, but that is a very hard dynamic for me to be around in real life too. Yes. Like I know relationships like that, and I can't stand it.
Yeah, the worst. I am very non-confrontational in relationships. It takes a lot to get me to be mad. And the most angry that I've gotten at boyfriends has always been like, please stop making me act like your mother right now. Yep. I really don't want to have to ask you this again. You know, like, it's really unfair. And it's partially just the way that men are socialized to expect women to do all the work for them in terms of decision making and upkeep and emotional labor. But anyway,
well, and this is like I mean, it's fine. This is the
whole movie. There's a ghost, and then there's this fucked up relationship. Yeah. These are the tent poles of this movie.
But this is also that thing that annoyed me so badly in Hereditary. It's triggering to me for a woman to have to ask and ask and ask and be ignored like that.
Right.
is weird. I don't use that word
And not
triggering,
just ask
but it
him-
irks me
No, it
so
is.
much. I'm like, fucking do what she's asking.
It made me feel viscerally angry.
Yeah.
In a way that movies typically do not.
Right.
And not because the movie itself isn't good, but because it's so familiar.
Yeah.
But not only to ask him to do something, but asking him to
Not
respect
to do something.
her wishes
Yeah.
around something that's very personal to her.
Oh, yeah.
Constantly. Let's get into it.
At least she gets fired up. So the
Yeah.
first night, I just love the tactics that this movie employs to show us what's happening.
They're so subtle.
So we see the nighttime. They're in the bed. They're asleep. And there's the little time ticker in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. So we know it's like 1:45 a.m. We hear some sounds and then a drop of something. The next morning, they wake up. And Katie goes downstairs and she says, "Did you put my keys in the middle of the floor?" And her keys have been moved. So it's something little, but it's freaky. And that's the first night. Mm-hmm. And I did notice one thing about this, that it might have just been like the volume at which I was listening to it, but I couldn't hear a lot of the things we were supposed to be hearing at night.
And
so
you could tell from the subtitles what was happening.
Yeah.
I had the same thing, and all I had was a fan on, like on low. I didn't even have it.
Well, I would recommend watching this with subtitles. I recommend watching every movie with subtitles, but especially this one because it's going to be like
with headphones or something,
footsteps or whatever that you won't hear. I don't think.
Yeah. Although the knocking came through loud and clear. The knocking and banging.
Knocking is to hammer home. Knocking is terrifying.
Knocking is scary.
So we find out the next day that Katie has hired a psychic.
Yes. And he's coming in to talk to them to just get a sense for their vibe. This is where we learn. This is all our exposition about how Katie has been experiencing this phenomenon since she was a little girl. Mm-hmm. She and her sister would wake up and there would be like a dark mass at the foot of her bed that would eventually go away. When she was a young kid, their house burned down and they had to move. Nobody ever could establish why the house burned down, no electrical reason, just no evidence for why that happened. And so the psychic, we get a bunch of kind of bullshit mythology that the movie has us accept as sort of the arbitrary, because there's so much on the internet about demons and ghosts and different sort of mythos and everything, and this guy just gives us this very clear distinction that a ghost is the departed soul of a human being that usually is attached to a place. I might have picked that one up from Poltergeist. And a demon is just a malevolent spirit. And the thing about a fucking demon is that it attaches itself to a person.
Ah, yeah. Poltergeist.
Yeah. This conversation really sets up the stakes of this movie for us in a way that's super smart right away. Because right away he establishes it does not matter where you go. You cannot escape the haunting. Because, a lot of ghost movies, it's like, just leave the fucking house, people.
Yeah.
And she can't. We know that whatever happens, they need to deal with it.
Another part of this, Katie says she's heard it whispering her name, scratching. Mm-hmm. Mika hasn't heard any of this, and so he doesn't believe her. And I was like, fuck you.
But he uses it as an excuse to buy the camera. Now, another important piece of info we learned from the psychic, he tells them both, don't fuck with this thing. Don't try to communicate it. Don't bring in a Ouija board. Yep. Don't antagonize it, because if you try to open up the channels of communication, it could get worse.
Yes.
So
which they've already done.
By
with bringing in a camera.
So that's a thing. He also says, this is not my area of expertise. I'm a ghost scientist. Let me give you my demonologist colleague's number. And Mika is very against her calling the demonologist because his masculinity is threatened by the fact that they're having to bring all these people in the house to deal with this thing that's fucking with his girlfriend.
Yeah, he's like, I'll protect you.
Right off the bat, Mika is...
I don't like him.
Okay, so night 3.
He's attractive on the surface.
Is he?
I mean,
we barely see him.
I love an olive-skinned, dark-haired gentleman.
That's true, but he's just such a douche. I couldn't even see past it.
She's cute.
She is cute, and she's smart. And I'm like, you can do so much better. Yeah. Take your demon elsewhere. Marry your demon. That would be better. Yeah. So night 3. Now we're gonna jump around in night because they jump around. They don't show us consecutive nights. So it's like it was night 1 and now it's night 3. And we see this. This I remember vividly from the movie, being freaked out by this, even though it's very subtle. The door just swings slightly shut and slightly back open, but there's no draft. It's very clear, nothing has moved the door.
And I feel like this is why this is a good movie, because that is a tiny little thing, and yet it would freak the shit out of you if your door moved and there was nothing else moving.
Yes. And this is where Mika actually starts to believe it, because then he watches the video and he's like, oh,
yeah,
maybe
he's like,
it's
watch
real.
this.
Yeah. Mika does more research on demons. We got 2 exposition scenes about a demon versus a ghost.
I wasn't paying close attention to the demon thing.
Yeah.
I was letting it wash over me.
So this, after night 3, she tells him, I would like to stop
filming.
And he's like, well, you didn't tell me about this when we moved in together, so I think I get some say in what we do. And she makes the point, she's like, what the fuck was I supposed to tell you?
He's a dick.
Yeah, he's
You could have mentioned this to me, like, what? Mentioned to you that when I was a kid, I thought I was haunted by a demon.
Right.
Or not even a demon. I saw a shadowy figure at the foot of my bed.
Right. It's bullshit, and he's the worst. But already she's like, please stop, and this is only night 3 of, 21. So he doesn't stop. Night 5, she wakes up gasping from a nightmare. Then there's slamming.
Oh my god, the slamming. So scary. Well, when she wakes up and she's like, I was like, Simon, is that familiar to you? Because of my night terror. And he goes, yeah, familiar, though a bit more shouting, almost shit a brick.
Simon has been through it.
But that was pretty much what it was, except I was screaming. But the sitting straight up.
Can I tell you, I actually had a similar reaction the other day, because when the first time I saw my mouse, the only time I've seen my mouse, he was in my room.
Oh, run away.
So I slept with my light on because I was afraid he was going to climb up in my bed with me. And I woke up and I had left my slipper on my bed next to me, which is fuzzy, because I was like, if I see the mouse again, I want to put shoes on. I don't want to be barefoot running around with the mouse. But I woke up and I just saw the fur, and I was it was kind of like a night terror, but it was about a mouse. Anyway.
Oh my god.
So, but this is the first instance we get of the begging, because Mika goes to investigate the slamming, and she's like, please don't go, please, Mika, please, 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 please.
So much.
And he investigates stupidly. The next day, there's a friend over. The camera has picked up a weird sound. Mika wants to get a Ouija board, and our girl is like, you better fucking not.
I wrote, Mika wants to get a Ouija board because he's an asshat.
Oh, we said we were going to not do Ouija board movies for a while.
We accidentally did it.
I forgot there was a Ouija board in this movie,
It's not the thrust of the film.
No, and there shouldn't have been a Ouija board if Mika had just done right by his girlfriend. There wouldn't have been one.
We can't help it.
It wasn't all prompted by a Ouija board. So night 13, and we skipped ahead. I guess nothing happens for a while. There's some thudding. Katie wakes up. There's a shriek and a loud crash. Oh, I thought this was great. They come downstairs and the chandelier is swinging.
Oh, yeah. I also liked that when there's the thud, Katie wakes up and she's looking, but she's keeping her feet on the bed, and I feel like that's a thing that we all do, is treat your bed like an island.
Hell yeah.
And the floor's hot lava, and but if you you won't put your feet on the floor, but you'll look up to see what's going on. I've heard noises in my bedroom and kept perfectly still, as if there's a T-Rex, and if I keep perfectly still, the T-Rex demon will go away.
The T-Rex demon. I would if there was a demon and it looked like a T-Rex, I wouldn't hate it.
That would be the combination of the two scariest things known to man.
No, but a T-Rex has tiny arms.
Huge mouth.
True. I'd rather get just by
just chomped once.
Yeah, I'd rather get chomped once than tormented in the fires of hell.
True.
Okay.
These are impossible would you rathers.
The next morning, Mika...
Oh, the shriek is really scary at that part, too.
Yeah, this was good. This is when shit is starting to get real. It's starting to get pretty scary.
And it always happens in the 3 a.m. hour.
Mm-hmm. The witching hour. I learned about the witching hour from the BFG. Did you read that book?
Yeah, I loved the BFG.
The BFG. So sweet.
Didn't love the movie, though. I adore Mark Rylance.
I know, but... I don't like all that CGI, Uncanny Valley shit.
There's no magic
I can't with
the
it.
book itself.
So the next day, Mika's all excited, and Katie is over the camera. She's like, this is the fault of the camera. That's why it's getting worse. And he won't listen to her. How does he respond to this? He responds by getting some kind of ghost microphone and going around the house asking it questions. And
he keeps provoking it.
Yeah, he's being a dick. He's
being
like,
like,
oh,
that's all you got, demon? Well, you'll pay for that,
What
Mika.
the fuck are you doing?
Also, like, it's not fake, dude. Like, you saw the chandelier moving. You know something is happening.
Yeah. It's just, like, the level of arrogance, the level of ego to be like, oh, there's a literal demon in my house. Let me just yell at it.
Yeah,
what do you think you're going to do, brah? I wish I could remember who tweeted this. It was not a famous person, I don't think. But I saw a tweet the other day that was like, white people are scared of a black man walking down the street, but they're trying to talk to the literal devil with a Ouija board. Which is apropos of this film.
That's true.
White people, stop. Oh, and when he mentioned, because he's like, would you rather I bring in a Ouija board? And he picks up a low growl on the recording.
Ooh. I thought you were going to say, would you rather get attacked by a demon or a demon T-Rex?
He's like, I gotta know. Demon.
I gotta know.
Are you a T-Rex?
Low growl. Again, wouldn't have heard it except for...
Yeah. I heard the growl. I didn't hear the low humming that happens the next night on night 15.
Well, is this the night where she says she's scared to go to sleep? She wants to watch a movie because she's scared to go to sleep.
No, that comes later. Oh. This night is actually probably my favorite night. It's a night where she gets up, turns around and stands and stares at him, and the camera goes forward 2 hours, and she just...
standing there staring
and does not move.
love it, this part and the part when it happens again, the like subtle swaying, because when you stand still your body sways a little bit.
Yeah, and she's like kind of asleep. So after like 2 hours of this, she leaves the room. Mika wakes up, can't find her. She's sitting outside on the porch, which is freezing evidently, sort of catatonic, won't come inside. He goes upstairs to get blankets, and when he turns around, she's standing right behind him, and she's like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
doesn't remember any of it. So now we get a sense that there is something in getting inside of Katie.
Did you sleepwalk?
I've never sleepwalked, no. But it's funny, my friend Rachel, shout out, she listens, was telling me her boyfriend is on some medication this week. He has poison oak, I guess. And it's fucking with him, and he's sleepwalked like every night this week. Like he woke up yelling, no, and ran into the hallway. And then
I feel like someone sleepwalking would
back.
Scare me really much.
It definitely would. It freaks me out when people talk in their sleep. It can be funny. My old roommate also listens, Rebecca, my dear friend Rebecca, who goes into caves even though she shouldn't. She used to just say random, like she would sit up and be like, you should wear the red one. And I would be standing there with a backpack. And I'd be like, I don't understand what you're saying to me.
So my little brother apparently talks in his sleep nonstop. And his girlfriend ended up telling him, you talk in your sleep all the time. Or they both talk in their sleep all the time. And so I feel very strongly that he's not, because they both got this app that it senses noise in the middle of the night. And so if you start sleep talking, it starts recording. Like, it doesn't just record all night. It records, like, the moments you make noise. And the things that he has recorded himself saying are so funny. Like, he'll be like, yeah, man, that guy's pretty obsessed with dolphins. It's so insane.
That is adorable.
Yeah, or he'll be like, yeah, your hair is so white. No offense. like that. It's so crazy. That's
really cute.
No offense, obviously. And then he also has sung.
Aww.
Where he'll be like, and like he'll record him.
Callie, I bet you
so
sing in your
crazy.
sleep.
I woke myself up singing the other day.
Oh my god, that's so cute. Well, I think we can agree that of all the things you can do in your sleep, what Katie does is one of the more terrifying.
Ooh, scary.
It's really, I love that part. I remember that too from seeing it in the theater.
So
her just standing up and swaying for 2 hours like a freak. Next day, they watch the footage. She doesn't remember it. We learn that Katie used to have really gruesome nightmares. He's like, stay strong. I'm not going to let anything happen to you. And I'm like, what are you going to do, you piece of shit? Anyway.
We like some men.
We do. There have been men that we've liked.
Most men, I would say.
Yeah, we have lots of men that we like.
I know. I don't know why I'm being defensive.
Women. I mean, I do take issue with a lot of the men in the movies that we talk about.
Yeah.
But not all of them.
But fuck this guy.
But Mika is maybe the worst one. Maybe
Yeah,
the worst.
I hate him. I've always hated him.
Yeah.
Oh, God. So what he do? This is a perfect segue why we hate him. He got a motherfucking witch board, a Ouija board.
He got a Ouija board.
Ouija.
And you know what? He has the nerve to not even think that she's going to be mad.
He promised her he would not get a Ouija board.
He calls her into the room. He's like, we got 10 minutes before we're leaving. Let's do a seance real quick. He says this to her as though she has not expressly asked him not to do this thing.
And he promised. He said, I promise I will not buy a Ouija board. And then he says, I promised I wouldn't buy a Ouija board. I borrowed this one from John or whatever.
What a fucking garbage man.
Ooh, I would be so pissed.
That's offensive to waste disposal employees to call him a garbage man.
Yeah,
He's just human trash.
Yes.
Just trash. And he has the nerve to be surprised and to just sort of like laugh it off when she starts screaming at him, as she should be screaming at him.
Yeah.
She's like, I don't want to hear it. And they leave. They go on a date, which that had to have been a fun fucking date. As soon as
I
they
would have
leave,
been like, date canceled.
oh
Life
my God,
canceled.
life canceled.
No.
I'm moving
Oh my
out.
God, there's nothing worse than going out to dinner with your significant other when you're fighting.
Oh, I know. Just stay home and order Chinese food and like talk it
And-
out.
Or just like go in your separate rooms.
Yeah, they have a house. They can
Cool
go
down.
in separate rooms. Anyway, they...
So while they're away,
yes.
it's like the moment they leave, the Ouija board, what's it called?
Planchette?
I was like, the synapses, the planchette, slides across the board, and as it slides, it sets the board on fire. It's moving around the board, and it's burning the board, and then the fire goes out.
And then they come home.
And Katie's like, what the fuck did you do, Mika? What did you do? And there's a pentagram drawn on the Ouija board.
Yes. And then he has the nerve, when she storms upstairs, to tell her to pop a pill. Oh, this is the next day. Never mind.
And she's like...
This is the next day.
Oh. And the next day, she's like, you know I don't take Valium. And he's like, you do tonight. If you haven't listened to Pet Sematary, do it.
If you want another garbage man.
Yeah.
He's actually not as bad, in my opinion.
No, but I did like that she was like, fuck you, Mika, like when she's upstairs.
She's so mad.
And she's like, don't fucking come up here.
Well, the next day, they, like, have a talk. He turns off the camera so that they can have a talk. And then he, like, sarcastically promises to the camera to obey by her rules and regulations of demonhood. And here is the thing. Why is one of her rules not, you don't get to have the goddamn camera on anymore? Yeah.
I guess they must have come to some sort of compromise.
This is just awful because you know that the calculation she is doing in her mind, she knows that this is wrong and bad and making the situation more dangerous. That she and Mika are both in danger because he's not taking it seriously. The choice becomes for her choosing between her own safety and staying with this guy because he's so cavalier about both of their safety. And she chooses to stay with him, and it just gets worse.
Bad. So he decides, am I getting this right, to put powder on the floor?
Yes, for some reason he wants to do this experiment, which Katie rightly points out, they already know there's a ghost. Why do they need to do a powder experiment?
Yep.
This is when he tells her to pop a pill. And I was like, oh, hell no.
Pop you in your face.
I used to yell at my ex-boyfriend if he would shush me during a movie. I'd be like, excuse me.
Oh.
I don't need to be shushed.
I shushed Simon a lot.
Look,
He
sometimes
kept talking during the Handmaid's Tale.
Sometimes I do need to be shushed. But I still took it badly.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if somebody told me to pop a pill, no.
Yes. Oh, no.
No.
Well, if someone told me to pop a pill, I'd be like, what kind? What you got?
Hand him over.
A Xanny? I'll take it.
I'd be like, I pop birth control every day.
Every day,
for you son of a bitch.
What have you done for me lately?
Anyway, so that night, oh my God, they wake up and there's goddamn footprints all in the room on the powder.
Footsteps of God.
The scarier thing. The scary thing about it. Footsteps in, no footsteps out.
And then something about the attic.
They go into the closet. I guess the footsteps lead them into the closet. For some reason, they go to the closet. The attic door is ajar. He goes up into the attic. Another begging scene. Please, Mika, please don't. I don't want to be down here alone. Blah, 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 blah.
He goes anyway. Surprise,
He
surprise.
goes, I could have done I don't want to judge her because I would have been acting the same way. I could have done with her to be like a little bit more brave. Because she's very like, kill the spider for me. You know, she's very like afraid all the time. But I get it. Because I probably would have been the same. He goes up into the attic and he sees a picture, just like a little snapshot, shoved in the insulation up in the attic. He takes it down. Its edges are burnt. It's of a little girl in a driveway. And Katie goes, oh my God, this is from our old house that burned down. There is no way this photo even exists, let alone that it's in the attic. And it was over their bed in the attic. So Katie's very scared and sad.
Yes.
Next day,
is this when she's like sobbing? No, that's later.
That's later. She would get 2 sobbing scenes with Katie. Lucky us.
I would do the same thing.
Oh my God, I would be a nonstop wreck. And the next day, I appreciated this scene too. They're both really tired. They're just both really tired.
Yeah.
They're like making coffee and they're so sleep deprived.
Like the Baba Duk Duk Duk.
Yeah, I mean, but this is where it really starts to. The inescapability of this monster really sets in.
Well, that's the sobbing bit. I mean, because the hopelessness of this is just my reality now. But turn off the fucking camera. Like, maybe try and do one thing to stop it, which might be turn off the camera.
Sleep with all the lights on.
Oh, that'd be tough.
I did it with my mouse.
True.
I just wore a sleep mask.
I don't know what you do if you have a demon. I guess try really hard to get in touch with that demonologist.
that is like the genius part of the movie. It's just such a simple thing, but saying you can't get away from the demon.
Yeah.
It's like, I think about this, I have a deep fascination with and fear of stalkers and being stalked.
Oh, me, I hate it.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about this. So this movie is like the supernatural version of that. The next night, wait, what happens? Oh, they finally call Dr. Avery's, and Mika is still like, I don't want to do it, trying to get her not to do it, and she's just like, get over it. And
get over it.
It's crazy. It's like, how fragile is your goddamn motherfucking ego, dude? There's a demon in your house.
What is
his problem?
Your fault. What's his problem? Does he ever say?
He's like, I'm going to take care of this. You're my girlfriend. You're
not
my
doing
house.
fuck all. You're putting powder on the floor, you idiot.
And also, you're like antagonizing it worse. It's just so, it's almost, this actually almost is a flaw in the movie because his motivation is just his fragile male ego. Like at a certain point, Dad's going to stop and ask for directions before he lets his family die in the desert. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Like, anyway, so she calls Dr. Avery's, but unfortunately he's on vacay, so she asks the first psychic to come back. But first we have night 18 when we hear running footsteps and the door slams shut. There's lots of banging, door slamming.
Is scary.
Nothing scarier than a good knock. So they eventually do go to sleep. Oh, they go downstairs. She's like, let's please go downstairs. I just want to sleep downstairs. More begging. They do go, but they hear like a bunch of moaning and groaning. So they go back upstairs and sleep with the light on. I wrote, like I did with my mouse.
Aww.
Good idea, guys.
Simon was very freaked out by this point. He
really?
had like the blanket pulled up all the way, and he was like, this stuff freaks me out.
I was actually quite spooked watching this by myself in the dark. Yeah. I waited to watch this one in the dark because I often will watch them during the day, but I was like, this movie's going to be boring with the lights on. Yeah. But it's really good with the lights off.
Agree. Yeah. That's the way to watch.
Okay, so next morning they're sad, eating dinner in the day. What?
Oh, yeah, because then they hear something upstairs.
Oh, yeah.
And they go upstairs, and there's a photo of the two of them on the wall, and it has been smashed, and Mika's face is scratched, and he's a dick, and he goes, why is my face scratched, not yours? Oh, because you're an idiot. You keep fucking with it, and you got a goddamn Ouija board. Let me count the ways you've pissed off this demon. So, but he says, it's the first time it's happened in the day, and Katie says, it's getting worse.
Yes, Mika, it's getting worse.
Pay attention.
Then he phones her crying because he's the worst, I wrote. I was like, why don't you turn the camera off while your girlfriend is crying in the bed? Turn the camera off.
Oh, she's crying. I would cry too.
I would cry too. I wouldn't film it.
I don't know what I would do. Move. Try and move.
I know, but it's not going to help.
I know. Mm-hmm. Well, then they call the psychic.
Yes.
And I wrote down that the psychic doesn't seem like an actor to me. He seems like maybe someone's dad or like someone they found at a college. He gave me the vibe of like, you've seen Summer Heights High. Mm-hmm. You know, like the principal or like the extras in Summer Heights High who like aren't really actors. And so they have this very sort of naturally but like not acting way. Like he was like, nope, demon doesn't want me to be here. I'm going to go now.
Yes. Bails on them immediately. He
deal with
walks in the door and he's like, nah,
I'm out.
Which is so sad. I think this is the saddest part of the movie because it's like, their last hope is gone now.
Yeah, and how fucked up that Dr. Avery's is on vacation.
You
Where did you go? I hope it was nice.
What do you do? Like, I can't imagine there's a paying position somewhere for a demonologist.
With paid time off.
Yeah, like, what does he do for a living?
Is it sexist that we think it's a he?
Well, he says it's a he.
Oh. Pronoun is established.
I think so. Maybe not. Maybe it would have been like a Tangina situation. I wish we got to meet Dr. Avery.
Tangina.
I wish. Okay.
If Dr. Avery showed up and it was Tangina.
Oh my god, I would love it. It's a hologram of Tangina.
Love it.
Okay,
so that night, 19. Yes.
This is when air blows up in their bed, like in the sheets blow up.
The blanket is moving.
And the next morning, Katie's like...
And I wonder how they did that effect.
I don't know, yeah. I guess maybe they ran like a little tube in with air.
Because that was good.
And then Katie, the next morning, she said, I can feel it watching me. I know something's wrong. Something's wrong. So Mika's doing some research. Oh, we forgot to say this earlier, but the Ouija board spelled some shit out, right, before it burned, and Mika caught it on camera. So he did some, like, he like, watched the footage a bunch and sort of put it together, and he's like, I think it's saying Diane. I think that's what it spelled out. Does that name mean anything to you? And Katie was like, no, it does not. Okay, well, now Diane's going to come into play because Mika's doing research. That's all they can do is more research. And he finds out about this lady named Diane, who in the 70s had all the same shit happen to her that Katie did, like her house burned down, haunting throughout her life, whatever. And then she tried an exorcism and I think died. I was unclear. She died during the exorcism. So he's like, I don't want to risk it. He's like, I think the demon is warning us by telling us about Diane. And, like, we don't want to piss it off with an exorcism.
So no exorcism.
Now you don't want to piss it off, Mika? Now you don't want to piss it off? Then
why did I write down very short? Oh, the movie, probably.
The movie's only 86 minutes long.
Yeah, it's short.
Yeah, but it doesn't feel, it felt long-ish to me, because it's sort of just slowly building. Not in a bad way, but it felt longer than 90 minutes to me. Then they have a fight, because Katie's just like, please just leave me alone, I just want to study for 5 minutes. And
how could she study?
I don't even know. I'm also like, I was an English major, I didn't study. I wrote papers.
Well, she's studying to become a teacher.
Oh, that's true. That's true. And he tells her, he says, like, the worst shit you could possibly say to her. He's like, this is your fault. You brought this in here. Why don't you go hang out with your friend upstairs?
Oh, you motherfucker.
And then, cut to, she's sobbing uncontrollably. And he puts down the camera and gives her a hug. And he's like, it's not your fault. You didn't do anything wrong, Too little, too late, Mika, you son of a bitch. Some things. That toothpaste is out the tube. You can't get that toothpaste back in the tube.
Can't shove it back in. You squeezed it all out.
No, you cannot.
You squeezed it all out when you said it's your fault. Go hang out with your friend. Oh, no.
No. Night 20.
Night 20. They are in bed. Katie, all of a sudden, gets dragged out of the bed.
Yes.
And pulled down the stairs or down the hallway. It's very scary.
Screaming bloody Mika,
murder. He goes and he's screaming, helps her, gets her back in the bedroom. They're both sobbing on the ground, crying. Later, they're like, okay, we're just going to go. We're going to leave. We're going to go to a hotel. Like, fuck this, whatever.
Which won't help, but I understand the impulse.
Yeah, and he's like, let me get on camera that thing on your back. And she lifts up her shirt and she's got like a bite mark on her back.
Nasty bite mark on her back. Yeah.
And, I mean, I just wrote down, what are they to do? No bueno.
What are they to do? I know, this is, like, really, the movie gets really sad. Because it's just, like, there's nothing
hopeless.
for them to do.
Yeah.
And later he finds her catatonic, and I think she's holding a cross.
A cross so tight that her hand is bleeding.
Right. And I never was clear when I saw this the first time if that was what had happened or if it had, like, burned her.
I think she's just holding it so tight.
Yeah.
But she's catatonic. He's like, come on, Katie, we gotta go. Come on. Somehow he gets her back upstairs. And she's like, I don't want to leave. Like, let's stay here. It'll be better if we stay here. Will you stay with me? And at that point, I was like, oh, she gone.
Yeah.
Like, she gone. Katie not in there. This is not good.
Katie doesn't live here anymore. And she says, I think we'll be okay now.
She's lying. She's wrong.
She's wrong.
The next night, night 21.
Yeah.
It's been 3 weeks.
Tres semanas. That's not very many weeks.
Nope. And, well, at least they didn't have to go through this nightmare for that long.
True. She'd been, like, on and off with it her whole life, but...
Yeah. So, the night begins, the camera's rolling, the clock is ticking down in the lower right-hand corner. She gets out of bed again. She stands and she stares at Mika.
Why are they still filming this?
Who knows?
She
stands and stares at Mika for over an hour, slight swaying going on. Then she walks out of the bedroom And she goes down the stairs. We hear the thudding of her going down the stairs. And when she gets down there, she starts screaming. And her screaming is so intense. And she's screaming, Mika, Mika.
And I also think there's some demony screaming happening, too.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't you get a sense of that? There was, like, some inhuman timbre.
So Mika jumps up and he runs down the stairs. And then we hear him being like, Katie, what the fuck? Ah!
Yeah.
And then, thud.
Silence.
Then,
dude, this scared me. The long footsteps and then a long ass pause.
Because you don't know what is coming.
Oh my god, it scared me. There's a long pause, and I was like writing, and I was like, what is it gonna end?
I know.
Yeah.
So scary. Then something gets thrown against the camera, and you realize it's Mika.
Bye.
His body. Katie has blood all over her shirt. She kneels down next to Mika in this sort of animalistic. She's kind of sniffing him.
She gives him a sniff. I wouldn't want to sniff Mika.
And then she jumps towards the camera.
And her face turns into a demon face.
Turns into a demon. Cut to black. And we find out Mika is dead. Katie's whereabouts remain unknown.
And we had a title card, too, that was like, Paramount would like to thank the families of Mika and Katie.
So silly.
So silly. But
also, no music throughout the whole movie.
No, that's true.
Didn't hit that budget with any music.
Smart.
Mm-hmm. It's our second movie with no music in a couple weeks.
Yeah, I didn't even notice it in this case because it was like, why would there be music?
Yeah. So in my research, I discovered that Steven Spielberg saw the film, loved it, but didn't like the ending. And he wrote to the director and he implored him to change the ending. And they reshot the ending for $4,000 in a really short amount of time or whatever with the help of Steven Spielberg.
I guess if Steven Spielberg asked you to change your movie and you're like making movies for $10,000, you will do it.
You're like, yes, sir. And I watched the original ending last night.
What's the original ending?
It was mixed because parts of it were really cool and then the final end was poor. So I'll describe it to you. So we hear Mika, we hear the thud, down, Mika screaming, thud, Mika dead apparently. Because then we hear bump, footsteps up the stairs. Katie comes in with a knife in her hand, blood all over her shirt, and she sits next to the bed and she starts swaying back and forth next to the bed.
I don't like it.
And so that's at like 3-something in the morning. Then cut to like 9-something in the morning, or no, maybe like 1 o'clock the next day, 1 p.m. the next day. She's still sitting there swaying, same position swaying, and the phone rings and it's her friend. And her friend is like, hey Katie, like I just want to make sure you're doing okay. You didn't show up to our thing. Are you okay? Blah, blah. And I was watching this on YouTube and the audio was really poor, so I couldn't make out exactly what she was saying, but something along the lines of, are you guys okay? Cut to hours later, Katie is still swaying. Same position, swaying. The friend, Katie, Mika, are you guys home? Hello. And you're just hearing this because the video is on Katie, who's swaying. Then she's like, Mika, Katie, hello. And then she's like, oh my God. And she sees Mika, apparently. Runs out. Then 20 minutes goes by and we hear police. They come in, hello, anybody here? Hello? And then you hear them like, oh, shit. They like see Mika or whatever and they're like, hello, like, you know, show yourself if you're here, blah, blah, blah. They go to the bedroom. Katie is sitting there swaying. And then they shine a flashlight in the bedroom. And she stands up and she has the knife in her hand, but she stands up kind of like she did the night she was on the porch. And she's like, Mika, where's Mika? And there are these cops in her face and they're like, drop the knife. And then they shoot her.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
And she dies.
I'm glad they changed that.
So people did not take well to her getting shot, which is I'm glad they changed that because why did you shoot this woman? It definitely would have been problematic. Also, I think they wanted opportunities for other films.
Yes.
Potentially.
Yes.
So a la The
Also,
Descent.
that's just so long.
Yeah, my description of it was also really long.
No, I don't mean that. I just mean that, like,
it
that's
wasn't
so
really.
many.
It
that's
goes
like
by really
many
fast,
sequence
though.
of events, but it's just so much tighter to just like.
Yeah.
Boom.
It's a much tighter ending that is in now. And the fact that Katie's whereabouts remain unknown is cool.
Yeah.
Like, she didn't just die. And then at the very end, it says, in the original version, it says, dedicated to Mika and Katie, and has, like, a photo of the two of them.
Oh, man.
And the director says he still prefers his original ending, but I would argue, yo, dude, you got a sequel out of this, and, like, many other...
Also, like, you ain't George Romero.
But you should watch it. You should watch it. It's cool. The swaying thing and, like, the time passing.
Yeah.
She's just sitting there in a weird state.
The police aren't going to shoot a white lady with a knife.
Also, I have to say, I appreciated that it brought the friend back, because we had met this friend and then she never came back.
True.
So, like, it connected the dots there. Like, he had introduced a friend earlier to bring her back so she could be the one to find the body.
Yeah.
Blah, blah.
All right.
All
That's
right,
a nice bit of trivia.
Yes.
Should we rate this movie?
Yes. Okay. I'm always sort of mixed.
Mm-hmm.
I give it 4 stars.
Yeah.
I feel like it was really innovative, and gosh darn if it's not inspiring to think that this movie was made for $10,000 and it launched a huge franchise, and it totally freaked people out in the movie theater when they first saw it. It's still freaking people out, and I just love that. Like, I was like, I want to make a movie. Like, I want to do something cool, and it was just an idea, and, you know, I love that.
Yeah.
So, 4 stars. Scream faces, I'm between a 3 and a 4 because I was not scared this time, but there were moments where I was like, where I was tense, and that's after seeing it many times and seeing every film in the franchise, but I give it 4.
Yeah, I think we're on the same page. I'm going to give it 4 stars as well for all the reasons that you laid out. I think that the mythology of a demon versus a ghost is a little basic.
Yeah.
It's not the most sort of creative, but it's what it needs to be.
I mean, I feel like how it served the movie well is that it was so ambiguous or, like, open-ended that it really did mean that they had a lot of room to play with in terms of prequels, sequels, because now they've built a whole world and mythology about, like, how this whole thing got started and why these 2 girls and da-da-da, 'cause she's a sister.
Right.
And I feel like the only reason they could do that is because they didn't really commit to much with this first movie. And it makes sense. She wouldn't know anything, really.
And the simplicity of it, of the rules that we're fed, are helpful because they just sort of, we're allowed to say, okay, got it.
Yeah.
And then we can just enjoy the spookiness.
And we didn't need Tangina in there for 5 minutes being like, there's a portal in your home, and there are people that cannot pass over, and so your child is stuck and can't go towards the light, but she must go towards the light. Like, we didn't need a 5-minute explanation.
We know everything we need to know within the first 5 minutes of the movie.
There's something malevolent,
and then
my
we can
favorite
just sit back and be spooked.
Exactly.
And, you know, and I don't know if the shittiness of Mika adds to the quality of the movie or detracts from it for me. It detracts a little from the enjoyability of the movie, but I think it's very real, and unfortunately. Then he gets murdered, so get back up to 4 right there. The scream emoji is also 4 for me because it's definitely really spooky in its effect, especially watching it alone in the dark, but also conceptually it's really scary to me. The idea of this force that you cannot escape was really fucking with me in a way that ghost movies often don't. So, yeah, I think we're 4 and a 4.
And if you're listening, you should definitely watch it, and then watch Paranormal Activity 2, because we're going to talk about it next week, and it's good.
And
I like Paranormal Activity
I'm excited
too.
to watch it. I don't know anything about it. Okay, on that note, we will sign off for the week. Oh, if you want to find out what we're watching the week after Paranormal Activity 2, follow us at Scream Girls Pod on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. And email us if you would wish on at screamgirlspodcast@gmail.com. Please write us a review on iTunes. We've been getting some great ones, and we really, really appreciate it. It really helps us out, and it just takes a second to write us a
And we
little
love to read them. It's so fun.
We love it. It's so fun. Thanks so much, guys.
Thanks for joining us, friends.
Watch out for demons. Bye.
Bye.